Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. I was actually out of town last week at a conference, but back in the studio this weekend. All kind of great stuff going on. Amazing show coming up this summer. Real estate market is here. We'll talk about that, talk about what's going on, and look forward to kind of what's going to happen the next few months here in Myrtle Beach. As anyone knows, once summertime hits, right, vacation starts, school gets out, people are in town like crazy. And we're already seeing that here on my team with people coming in town to buy both investment properties, relocation, condos, houses, everything we've been seeing. So we'll talk about that. We have seen a little bit of headwinds lately in terms of interest rates. We'll talk about that. Inventory has been climbing. As that's the amount of houses for sale in the market's been climbing based on interest rates jumping up the past few weeks. And we'll talk about that. We mentioned last week's show in the micro market where in the city of Myrtle Beach, 29577, 29572 sales were down 29% year to date. We'll just talk about what to look for going forward. The good news is last month, the overall market was up 20%, which is interesting. So it'll be nice to see on next week's show what the brand new market numbers in to see overall how May did, which is interesting. But we also have some national data. I like to do 1 week a month on the show, talk about some national data. And it really just has like who were home sales last year in 2023. And also in 2024, also we'll have some national data that shows that for sale by owner homes sold for $95,000 less than 8% of homes nationwide last year. We'll talk about that, what the difference is overall with that. We'll talk about, again, one thing on last week's show just did not have enough time to get to is the number one reason that houses are not selling right now in this tough market. And it's super, super simple, but it gets overlooked all the time. And also end up buying a house this week for somebody who wanted to reach out, buy it up front, basically an instant cash offer buyout. And we'll talk on next week's show. I get the question all the time, does Blake actually guarantee houses? Did Blake actually buy those through the guarantee? This past week, had to go into contract. We had to basically buy one because when we had listed, they were buying something else. We basically had, I think, 90 days to get it sold. We priced it high. There's some issues with some animals and stuff in the house, but through our guarantee, we're stepping in, buying that property for them. And I'll have a cool video we'll share with you of that, because you get the question all the time, does he actually buy houses through the guarantee? Yeah, we do. We do a few a year here and there, and it works well for the sellers, works well for us over the long term. I'm going to lose money on this deal, but overall tends to make good money for a win-win situation for both. So lots of great stuff. It is that summer market. Our team is hiring. We have the number one team in Myrtle Beach by far. We're growing like crazy. As this market has slowed down the last 2 years, we have not decreased our advertising spend at all. We've actually increased it, which is why we've been adding more market share. We're adding more people. And so we'll talk about today's show. Lots of great stuff to go over.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show. By, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has called the real estate whiz kid and featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Red Morning Show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Kennedy, also Robert Portland, Gary LaBox. Put it all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can give you all the details. We're more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, absolutely. And I made a promise that I would talk about this every single week on this show a long time ago, just after seeing so many horror stories. I see it day in, day out, every single day, continually. And that's the whole reason I do this show, the whole why behind it, why I take time to write the show and just kind of keep up with everything and share the data for everyone. Obviously, we hope it comes back to us long term. We have one main goal, which is just to help make better decisions with most people, one of their largest assets, which is real estate. And that is help keep you in the know. But one of the biggest mistakes I see over and over and over and over, it doesn't matter how affluent they are, how much experience they have. If they're a first-time home buyer, if they sold 20 homes, they make this mistake of thinking that agents are just a commodity. I think everyone's the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, right? It's just like any doctor, any lawyer. any service-based business. People look at agents. I was teaching my team this yesterday. It's like, man, there's this crazy thing that people just look at agents as a commodity, like they're corn, right? Or they're wheat, where everything's the same. And it's not even close to that, right? They just ask the wrong questions. How much do you charge, right? They never ask the right questions when they're talking about their largest asset that they possibly own, but they gamble with it because they're not sure how to actually pick an agent and what to do. And so I want to have a goal in this show to like help educate people and show them what's going on behind the curtains and how things work and what makes the biggest difference. Because when you're dealing with humans and you're dealing with your largest assets, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, especially when you compound that when you have a sales cycle that's very long, like real estate, right? It's not something where you go buy a TV that day at Best Buy and you're done. You have a long sales cycle, 30, 60, 90 days, depending on the type of financing it has and what happens. And so the reality is what most people don't realize is that agents are not the same in any way. And it goes back to like the same exact thing. If I have a doctor, or if I need something that's a life-threatening illness, I don't want the cheapest doctor. I don't want just a doctor who's, done a few cases like that. I want the absolute best, most aggressive, most in tune, in-depth doctor that's specialized in that type of medicine on the planet, right? Because that's my life. If I have a crime or charge that I did not commit, I don't want some part-time attorney or attorney my friend recommended or the cheapest attorney. I want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who can give me that competitive advantage in the courtroom to get me the outcome that I deserve and I desire. And you should demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with the largest asset. But for some reason, people spend 20, 30 years building their hard-earned equity, making payment after payment after payment, and they spend 15 minutes picking an agent and they ask the wrong questions. And so the fact is, the single most important variable that determines your success or your failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period. Right? Because when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, they advise you wrong. It could be the photos, the order of the photos, the quality of photos, they answer the telephone when somebody reaches out to them. They have a for sale sign. If somebody calls a for sale sign, does someone actually answer it? If they submit to a web lead online, how long does it take them to respond? All these things happen, including negotiations. I just had an example this morning in our morning huddle with Amanda, one of the top agents on our team, sells 50 plus houses a year. And she had a buyer and she was just talking about how many desperate new agents are out there and how she got over $40,000 off for her client because the agent didn't know what they were doing. And so she had a property to make an offer on. It had been in the market a little while because it was priced a little bit high. It came down in price about 4 or 5 times. And ultimately she made an offer on it and she told the agent and said, hey, look, I don't think this is going to appraise. It might be a little bit high. And the agent freaked out. The agent was very desperate. The agent ended up dropping the price. They dropped $40,000 in negotiation. And Amanda's client would have basically taken it with only $10,000 off. But the agent was so desperate and so scared, and they did not understand the comparables and the data and the market. They cost their client another $30,000 by not knowing what they're doing. And this is examples I see every single day. And this is just this morning, right? And so what most people don't realize is you have something that's very complex with lots of data that takes lots of expertise. You can't just look on Zillow and determine what your house is worth, or you're leaving $10, $20, $30, $40,000 on the table. And so what I did when I got into business, I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. The average agent in our marketplace sells 4 homes per year. And that was last year. So it's probably gonna be a little bit less this year because obviously there's a little bit less sales. And so what I realized is that, look, most agents selling 1 home per quarter, they're not very, very good at what they do. And so the reality is we sit out and say, look, how do I make sure that I can understand what needs to happen and build systems, processes, and people to make sure we manage all those variables from A to Z? And that's what we did. We saw it out. We reverse engineered exactly what has to happen to get a successful home sale. And we figured out there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrect, like I mentioned, the ball gets dropped, costs you money. And so I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that basically sells homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. It's backed up by real estate experts. Our team agents sell 7 times the amount of houses per year that the MLS average is, right? So the agents average so much more than the average agent, which brings more expertise, more training, all these things, which helps our clients make better decisions and put more money in the pocket. That's simple. On the buy side, we have a system very similar. It's called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gives you priority access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully and make sure you get the absolute best deal. And so most people don't realize that. I share it every show because if you just take anything from the show, realize like who you use matters and you want the absolute best. Doesn't mean you have to pay the most, right? You want to get the absolute best value. Who's an expert? who can help navigate this, who can guide you through it. So many people try to do most of it on their own because they're scared to talk to a salesperson, or they ask the wrong questions and just say, who's the cheapest or whatever it is. And I was telling my team this recently. If you call and look for the cheapest anything, you are going to set yourself up for failure. If I call around, I want a BMW. I was telling the same exact story yesterday. If I want a BMW, and I call every car dealership in Myrtle Beach, and I say, look, I want the cheapest BMW you have, right? How much you charge for the BMW? And I finally get the cheapest one. What happens? Right? I buy the BMW, and what I have an absolute lemon who is not going to be a good car, right? Because I want good value, not the cheapest. If I call the around town and find attorneys, and I say, hey, what do you charge? Right? What's the cheapest attorney in town? What am I going to get? I'm going to get smoked in court. What I'm going to get? I'm going to get absolutely destroyed because I don't want the cheapest. I want the best, and I want the best value. Doesn't mean I get the most expensive, but I want the best who's going to be the best value, right? If I call around to have a sickness that's a life-threatening illness, and I call around town and say, hey, who's the cheapest doctor? What am I going to get? The absolute worst doctor that there is, right? So there's nothing in life that you're ever going to get by asking that question of who's the cheapest, right? You want to understand who's the best, who can navigate me, and who can help put the most money in my pocket as a home seller at the end of the day. And so I want you to take something from that. Lots of great stuff we'll talk about today's show. I'll take a quick break, right back in a second.
Money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group, not knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. Options like an instant offer or lay out your timeline and take advantage of the guaranteed sales program. We're just putting on the market. You get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds. And then you can start packing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Parker. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, paying after it all with even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Choose our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Market update, all kind of stuff going on right now. We'll talk about what's happening. We have this crazy combination right now where we're in the summer market, school's out, everyone's coming to town who's been stalking properties for months, and rates climbed up a little bit since last week's show. They bumped up significantly. They came back down. They were up about 30 to 40 basis points, and they came back down at the end of the week, thankfully. But we'll talk about that. We'll review last month's numbers overall. But looking at two types of numbers we always talk about, we have the rear view mirror numbers, which is what closed last month. That's what most agents use and really experts use across the country. I like to use the what I call the windshield numbers to help me make better decisions for my clients. We obviously use both. But what windshield numbers are, those are what went pending the last 7 days, and I can keep a real-time pulse of what's happening. Been doing this since COVID started, really 4 years ago, and it's been tremendously helpful for ourselves, our clients, because I can know real time on like what's happening, especially in the market we're in right now, which is really an interest rate-driven marketplace. Because as rates go up, buyers slow down. As rates go down, buyers jump back in, right? And you'll see prices jump back up as as buyers jump back in. So we'll talk about those really quick. The front windshield numbers. What recently happened, last 7 days, 518 properties under contract for $215 million. It's identically the same as last week. Last week's show was 518 for $193 million. So as you can tell, average sale price is up when you're going from $193 million to $215 million with the same amount of sales. And that's something we continually see, which is great. Prices continue to climb up, which is great news overall, depending if your condos or sales. If you look at how many properties over $1 million, the last 7 days are 20 properties over $1 million, which is awesome. One of the highest ones I've seen were 2 lots on Ocean Boulevard, 302, 306 North Ocean Boulevard in Myrtle Beach 4.8 million, which is awesome there. Great news to see those type of numbers coming in. Inlet Harbor and Myrtle's Inlet, 2.6 million. The house in Litchfield, 2.25 million. So lots of great stuff. 44th Avenue North of Myrtle Beach under contract for 2.2 million. So lots of big stuff happening right now, which is amazing for Myrtle Beach to see these type of numbers. 111 properties under contract over 500,000, which is great, versus last week's show there's only 87. So a significant increase there in high value properties. Lots of big cash deals we're seeing, which is great news. On the flip side, though, we have seen inventory kind of explode. That's how many properties are on the market. I keep track every day of how many properties in Horry County that are single family homes are on the market, and it's slowly climbed up. At the lowest, it was like 300 homes at one point after COVID, and as things are going crazy. It slowly climbed up. We hit 1,000 a few months back. Last week's show, there was 1,166 properties in the market. This week's show, 1,197. So significant jump there. We're almost hitting 1,200 homes in the market right now, which is great news for home buyers out there. Before, one of the biggest challenges was people wouldn't sell because they couldn't find anything to buy. Now you're finding a little more inventory out there. But the challenge, though, is properties are sitting a little bit longer on the market. Overall, we did peak out earlier this year at 606 properties for 235 million. Again, that has slowed a little bit as rates have gone up. We'll talk about that. Looking at the overall market number review for anybody that missed last week's show, I'll breeze through it really quick. Closed sales last month in Myrtle Beach were up significantly for resale homes of 21.5%. So that's the same month last year. And again, this comes off the heels of great interest rates in the sixes through January, February, early March. And they end up closing a couple months, 30, 60, 90 days later is what you're seeing. So great news there. 525 sales last month, up 21.5% from the same month last year. Median price is up 8.1% at $375,000, which is great. That's year versus year. Looking at average sale price, though, did drop a little bit, down 6.6% at $459,646. And that's just been bumping around month versus month. The one thing, though, inventory is continually climbing. Right now, we're the highest inventory we've seen in a very, very long time, 3.8 months. We're still a seller's market, technically almost a super seller's market still, but inventory is up 40% from the same time last year. And so 3.8 months is significant. It's been a very, very long time, really almost over 4 years since we've seen that much inventory overall. The last time we were at 3.8 months was, I'll tell you right now, June 2020. So that just kind of goes to show you're seeing that climb back up. The lowest we hit was back early February 2022, and it was 1.0 months of inventory overall. And so one of the biggest challenges we're seeing right now overall is just buyer traffic. As rates have gone up, right, you have to have really good marketing. You have to have good showings. And so right now, the average showings per listing right now is 4.6 showings per listing. And so that's down 11.5% from the same time last year. And so the problem is the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 13.1. And so most listings right now, they're just going with the average agent who's, let's say they're doing what every other agent does. You're getting 4.6 showings on average. The challenge is, and why you're seeing about 50% of properties that are getting on the market right now are not selling after 6 months as in this new marketplace, because it takes 13.1 showings to get an actual contract based on the data. And so you want to keep that in mind for anything you run into. Condo sales down 17.2% last month. Condos have been getting hammered a little bit because of all kind of different reasons: insurance assessments, HOA dues going up, financing challenges, all kind of things you see with condos. And inventory is up there. It is now technically a buyer's market for condos. It's 6.1 months of inventory, which is through the roof. It's been since 2017. We had that much really inventory in a while. That we were up to over 6.1. So that's something to keep watching overall with that. The average showing per listing, very, very similar. The average condo right now is only getting 2.6 showings per listing, and that's in the entire MLS. The problem is it takes 9 showings to get a contract. And so they need 3 times the amount of traffic they're getting. And that's why I go back to the most important decision you make is the agent you choose and how they actually advise you and how they actually drive traffic through their marketing. And do they spend any marketing to get buyers to your property? And so right now, one of the biggest things driving that is interest rates. Right now, a 30-year fixed rate is 7.29%. So significant. Last week's show, 7.02. A few weeks back, we're at 6.99. And so it bumped back around. It was at 7.4 early in the week. It did come back down a little bit overall. 15-year fixed rate right now, 6.76%. A 30-year jumbo, 7.52%, which is significantly higher. A 30-year FHA loan right now, 6.82%, and the 30-year VA loan, 6.84%. So we're looking for some type of really, relief in interest rates. Is still moving pretty good right now when you're seeing 200 plus million in 7 days, even though rates are at 7.29%. That is a part of the summer market. If I'm thinking about selling, I want to tee up. Everyone knows Myrtle Beach is a seasonal market. We all know that once school comes out, June 1st is when really the wheels come off and things start going fast. Everyone's coming in town. Everyone who's been stalking properties, they combine their vacation along with their home purchase. If they have children, or they're kind of a little bit, younger demographic, they tend to come right now during the summer season. We're seeing lots of stuff right now. People coming in town, looking at multiple properties. If I'm thinking about selling, you want to do it when all the people are here, right? My dad always taught me growing up here in Myrtle Beach, born and raised, you always make the hay while the sun shines, right? It's one of those things that in the old days, the off season, the red lights will flash yellow in the wintertime. Summertime is when everybody makes the money. Right now, it's when everyone comes in and spends money, which is why I want to tee my house up at the same time everyone's coming in to buy. Most of the buyers are from up north, other areas coming in town that are relocating, buying second homes, relocation homes, or investment properties. So I want to make sure I'm doing that part as well. So quick break, right back in a sec with our hot buyers alert.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy,
I got about 7 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. We'll skip the last commercial.
Okay.
Thank you.
The price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know your current home will sell by, and for how much you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with two mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing that Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot Buyers Alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking to buy properties here in the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area from $250,000 up to $4.4 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we've been doing here for a long time is putting our money where our mouth is. We outspend the average agent here 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. Our average marketing budget is between $75,000 and $100,000 a month right now. And most agents don't make that in a month, much less spend that. So don't make that in a year, much less spend that in the marketing budget, much less do that per month. And the reason I share that is because what we're able to do is get more exposure. We get lots more exposure by getting buyers from all across the globe because we do have that much of a reach. And so right now with active home buyers with a username, password account on our website, 76,346 active home buyers, 76,346 active home buyers. I have right now Vivian from Jersey City, New Jersey, Terry Clark from Taylor, South Carolina, Randy Carrion from Castaway, New Jersey. I got Barbara from Poughkeepsie, New York. I got Trenton, New Jersey. You can see a pattern there, right? Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, Detroit, Michigan, Asheville, North Carolina, Sherry Bogle from Fort Mill, South Carolina, Joe and Vicky Burnetto from Florence, South Carolina, all over the place. And so if you're thinking about selling, why not go to the ones that already have what we call buyers in waiting, where we can match them up to your property? Or you could just go to the average agent and let your property sit on the market for 6 months and get 4 showings on average and a few tire kickers that come in, right? We have technology and a sales team that we're able to match up buyers and sellers, reverse engineer what buyers are most likely to buy your property based on our previous search pattern with our technology. And then we have a sales team who make about 16,000 phone calls a week to match up those buyers and sellers. And that's why we're the number one real estate team in Myrtle Beach. Now I share that because if you're thinking about selling, if your friend, relative, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, if they think about selling, do me a favor and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. He has what they call buyers in waiting. We have a large investment fund that can also buy that property out immediately without showings, without anything, for a very fair price if you want to. That's something to think about as well. So again, if you don't know more about that, you can go to blakestone.com. Just Google me or just call us at 843-808-SOLD. Couple minutes really quick. Success story. David owned rental property in Little River. Recently decided it was time for him to sell because he no longer wanted to be a landlord. After the tenant moved out, he found that the tenant took very, very poor care of the property. It needed a lot of work to get back up to livable standards. He thought the only way he could sell the property is to sell it to an investor at a discounted rate. He met a few investors and realized they're only paying pennies in the dollar for a property what it's actually really worth. Thankfully, David had a friend who recommended Sloan Realty Group us. He gave us a call. We came in, shared with him. You have thousands of buyers who are looking at properties just like his that need some work and will buy it as is. We came in. I designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough, drove massive traffic. Within 2 days, David had 8 offers on his property. He selected cash as if property, as is, meaning he doesn't fix anything, above asking price offer with a quick closing. Now he doesn't worry about that property and put maximum equity in his pocket. Also, another one that's we had an instant buyout. Steve was taking care of his elderly father who lived in Longs. Unfortunately, his father had passed away. His father left him his house. Steve was unable to afford the current property with the expenses of keeping up the father's home, so he needed to sell his father's house ASAP. He met with a couple investors, but found they want to give him pennies on the dollar as well. He was making payments on his existing mortgage, so it's a little bit difficult, right? So thankfully, he remembered hearing about Sloan Realty Group on the radio, gave us a call. We met with Steve, discussed multiple options. He ultimately decided to accept a cash offer from Sloan Realty Group directly, aka me. We came in, gave a lot more money than any of those investors were offering, a very fair price, right at market value, based on the condition. And guess what? We came in, did a very quick closing, cash, no fixes up, no nothing. We just took it as is. And he was able to move on. Very, very, very happy win-win situation. And our fund basically bought that. So big shout out to Steve. Anyone else out there, make sure you're able to reach out to us. We can instant buyout as well. So really quick, got a couple minutes left. I want to share one thing, the interesting data that came out, force of owner data, which is interesting. Force of owner data last year, 89%, this is a National Association of Realtors study, 89% of home sellers work with their agent to sell their house. Only 7% sold via force of owner, and less than 1% did iBuyer, which is like an instant buyout from a large company, whatever, which is interesting. That was the lowest it's been recorded in terms of force of owner, which is interesting overall. But here's the force of owner data I wanted to share. 7% of homes were force of owner data. It's an all-time low and matches the close numbers seen in 2021. The majority of force of owners, 57% knew the buyer of the home. So 57% sold to someone they knew. Rural areas a little bit higher, 14% compared to 3% urban areas. Here's the crazy part. National data, FSBOs typically sell for less than selling price of other homes in the area. FSBO homes sold a median price of $310,000 last year, significantly lower than the median agent-assisted price of $405,000. So it's a $95,000 difference in terms of what's actually being sold out there. Why is that? Well, because most force of owners don't actually understand the data at a high level. They can look at what Zillow says or certain things. So they say, hey, I'm going to save 3% or I'm going to save 6% or whatever the number is they're thinking, and they end up costing themselves, in this case, $95,000 difference. Now, when you're dealing with median numbers, obviously it depends on who the demographic of selling, but the same exact thing happened, a while back where we shared another horror story. June, she was a lady who came to us, perfect example where she submitted to our website. We called her, reached out and said, hey, looking for your home value. She said, I was actually checking my value because I sold it to someone directly without using an agent. Turns out she sold it for $80,000 less than what it was actually worth. And so that's just something we're seeing all across. And so you wouldn't go to court by yourself, right? You wouldn't do surgery on yourself. Make sure you have someone who can at least protect you and guide you in the right direction, because for most people, it's one of your largest assets overall. So that's super important. If you want to be part of us or have any questions, we're here to serve you. You can always go back and watch these on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is. If you have any questions real estate related, we're here to serve the community. Been doing this for, 14 plus years. We're always here for any questions. There's no question that's dumb. There's no pressure or anything. Call us, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. We'll see you back here next week.